Right, guys. So loads of people have been in touch about the cow heel soup. Lots of the foods that have been being made in this kitchen here. So today we're making cow heel soup, and I've laid all the ingredients out for you. So of course in this bottle here we have some homemade green seasoning that we made with some shadow benny that we managed to find. And down this side we have our cow heel. I'll get into all of how we managed to get hold of all these ingredients later on. As you can see, I have 2 chopping stations sorted out here because I'm in the fortunate position that I have a human chopper that's going to come join me in a minute. But if we start off with getting all our ingredients sorted out, we have our vegetables going into this bowl this side, our cow heel in that bowl, and all of these seasonings here are going to go in this bowl here. Our chana dal is going to go and start to boil in a minute because we want those peas to split. Right, guys, so we have the seasonings being chopped up here ready to go in one bowl. And the first thing that we need to do is get our chana starting to boil because those peas take a really long time actually to split, and you don't want all your vegetables to start dissolving because the split peas just aren't splitting, right? So I always put those on first to boil and add them to the soup just before they're about to split. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, but try anyway. So that's going to go boil there. So let me just speak to you a little bit about how this came about in the first place. So not only are we in lockdown and we don't have access to a lot of stuff, we're not used to people being able to bring stuff in their suitcases for us and things like that anymore. We're all missing those relatives arriving with a bottle of green seasoning. And so for instance, we have come to start making our own green seasoning, and we found that actually if you go to a Thai shop, they have a version of shadow benny, and you can use their shadow benny to make a really good green seasoning here. A lot of people have asked me, but how are you even getting cow heel? Top tip, if you go to halal butchers, they have cow heel and you can ask them to chop it up for you there. So we're going to get all those seasonings going, and our split peas are there pre-boiling. I like to get all the vegetables chopped up and put in a bowl. They kind of go in last, but if they're chopped up and they're ready to go, your kitchen is all nice and clean. But once we get these seasonings chopped up, we're going to pre-pressure cook our cow heel and the seasonings in a pressure cooker so we don't have to wait all day long for our soup to be made. And then we'll add our vegetables after and the split peas last. What we have going in our soup today, so we're using onions, coriander, spring onions, celery, and garlic as our base seasoning vegetables, and of course our green seasoning that we made. And in terms of vegetables, what we were able to get our hands on today was a lovely piece of pumpkin that we have here, some okras, carrots, sweet potatoes, eddos, potatoes, and plantain. We actually have some frozen cassava, and we also could not get our hands on a yam this week. Sadly, the yams, we go to an ethnic grocery store, and the yams there were too big this week. We didn't want to buy a whole huge yam because we knew we weren't going to use the whole thing. So we're skipping out the yam this week, but that's basically the vegetables and ground provisions we were able to get hold of this week to go in our soup. Okay guys, so we have all our vegetables and our seasonings chopped up. We have our seasonings all ready here in this bowl with our pressure cooker. So we're gonna put some oil in the pot and get those seasonings nice and softened up before we add the cow heel. I hope that my sous chef actually remembers to turn the stove on there. I don't know what happens to him when the camera starts to roll, but he seems to lose a few brain cells whenever that happens. So just one of the reasons for how this whole thing came along was that obviously during lockdown everybody started cooking a lot more and things like that, and you know, friends from all around the world start reconnecting and so on. Now when you're a Trini living abroad, cooking can be a lot more challenging because of the lack of ingredients and the availability, but two other really major factors that make cooking West Indian food difficult is that we just don't have as much time. You know, we're doing much longer commutes to work. Some of us are commuting an hour and a half to work, and then another hour and a half back. We're not even walking in the door of our house till 6:30 in the evening sometimes, and we really feel for some Trini food. So, you know, we've got that factor, and you know, we also live in much smaller homes than what we might have been used to back home, particularly when we have winter upon us. You know, the windows are shut, we're in a small space. Trini food is smelly when you're cooking it. A curry is smelly. We don't live here with our windows wide open and things like that. And so you have to be inventive with how you're cooking. So hence the pressure cooker, because you get home from work and you feel like you're just real fancy, some kind of soup or something so. And the pressure cooker takes all of the work out of that. So if you're currying some, you know, beef or something like that, you could have it done in 20-30 minutes instead of having it boiling on a iron pot for 2-3 hours, you know. So we're just gonna wait for those vegetables to soften down, and then we're gonna add the cow heel and put the lid on that for like 20 minutes. Okay guys, I'm just gonna give you a little look inside this pot here. Now here's the thing, and actually I just got asked this question a second ago. Here's my cow heel waiting to go in, and I just got asked, but you're not seasoning the cow heel? No, I'm not. I'm not seasoning the cow heel because we're talking about trying to cook our Trini food when we're lacking time and so on. So what we do is that we actually get out our seasonings melted down in the pot there, and we use the heat of that pot to actually seal the flavors into that meat one time. So we're gonna add some Worcester sauce and some salt and black pepper and everything into that pot. My sous chef is looking at me like I'm mad. So we're gonna get that black pepper and everything in there. And what I'm actually gonna add to this as well, because remember again, we're not in Trinidad, we don't have our Trini ingredients. We're making a Trini's abroad version, right? So we're also gonna put a vegetable oxo cube into there, because that's gonna make a nice stock base for us. And I have a secret ingredient I cook with all my food. Can you believe it? It's Polish seasoning. It's really cheap. It's like 79 pence in Asda. I'm sure that if you're living somewhere else in the world, like Canada or the States or even Australia or something like that, most of these big developed countries have their version of Polish grocery stores, halal butchers and vegetable stores, African and West Indian greengrocers and things like that. So we often go around to 4 or 5 different types of grocery stores a week trying to get hold of the ingredients we need. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add this Polish seasoning in, because that brings out the flavor quite a lot. Once those seasonings are all stirred up, we're now gonna add the cow heel, and we're gonna, almost like a stew, so you're sealing the meat into those seasonings in that hot pot. Right, so that cow heel's going in, and we're gonna let that seal. And now cow heel obviously isn't gonna brown, so it's not gonna brown, but we just want the outside of that cow heel to seal up, and it's gonna draw those flavors into the meat. So, you know, you come home from work and you don't feel to leave the meat to season for a really long time before you then have to cook it for a really long time. Get yourself a pressure cooker and start taking shortcuts. You can still eat your Trini food abroad, you just need to make some adjustments. Okay guys, so you can see our split peas are there boiling. Our meat has sealed up in there for about 3-4 minutes now. And what we want to do now, before we even think about adding our vegetables and so on, because we need this soup fast. My father called me last night to ask me, girl, you making cow heel soup for me tomorrow? I know he's walking his dog now. He's gonna be walking in the door any minute asking me where his soup is. So we need this soup done fast. So what we've done is, we boiled a kettle of water. Our meat is nice and sealed off. We're now gonna add the water to the pot, and we're gonna add it just over the level to where the cow heels are, because we're cooking this under pressure. So it is going to expand and explode your pressure cooker if you put too much water in it, right? So we give that a nice little mix now, and then we're gonna put the lid of the pressure cooker on, right? And when we put the lid of the pressure cooker on, we're gonna set that pressure to cook at the highest pressure for about 20 minutes. You don't want to leave it too long because you don't know that's not the right way. You want it to number 2. Other way, all the way to 2. No, other way, all the way to 2. Right? We want that to cook under high pressure just for like 20 minutes. Anything too long, you're gonna find that things stick to the bottom of the pressure cooker and it's not gonna taste good. It's gonna get burnt. Also, your cow heel is probably gonna disintegrate altogether and you'll just have bone soup, right? So, Alexa, could you set a timer for 20 minutes, please? Thanks, Alexa. See you guys in 20 minutes. Okay, so meanwhile, we found these old bananas and I was told explicitly, do not throw the bananas out. I want banana bread. I hate baking. I hate playing with dough. So let me give you a little hint here. I cheat. I always use a pre-made white bread mix from the supermarket. You'll be amazed what this stuff can do. That stuff is gonna make every bread you need, every dough you need for everything. Make it for your fry bakes. Use it as your base. Just add a little bit extra water and your turmeric and your jeera to make your barras for your doubles. That stuff is making your roti and your bus up shut too. So load that. You're making sada roti, dal puri roti, all kind of roti with that. And you know what? You don't have to mess around with any kind of measuring out baking powder or anything. So I'm gonna use my trusted KitchenAid here and we're gonna mix our bread mix, put our bananas in. I am gonna put a little bit of sugar in, not too much. We're gonna get that in that bread pan and into the oven and bam. Like that, we're gonna have banana bread for dessert. Okay guys, so this is how the batter came out. Because we used a dough batter instead, I put a little bit of sugar, but also the bananas do make the batter wetter, which is what we want for a banana bread, okay? Our pressure cooker is going there. We haven't even reached a 20-minute mark yet. So, you know, making this bread was a nice little time filler. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna transfer, excuse my family who are going nuts there in the background. We're gonna transfer this into our bread pan. And that's gonna go into a preheated oven. And I'm just gonna leave it a little bit because again, like I said, I used a ready mix dough thing from the grocery store. So normally, you know, you have to leave that to rise a little bit. So I am actually gonna leave it there. I gave it a good whip so we could get some air inside of there. But I am gonna leave it for a little bit before I put it in the oven, just to give it a chance for whatever rising agent they're using in that mix to work, because nobody likes a flat banana bread, really, do they? Cool. So that's gonna sit there for like I'd say 10 minutes before I put it in the oven, and that'll probably be around the time we're dealing with opening up the pressure cooker. Guess what? Daddy just called. He said, hey, I'm passing for my soup now. There's our 20 minutes. Alexa, stop. So we're gonna put a little coconut milk in our soup here. So we're gonna be taking this pressure cooker off of the heat. Now, again, we're in England, the windows are closed, this can be a problem. So what I always do when I take the pressure off is I cover it with a cloth, because that just stops the whole pressure cooker exploding everywhere and stinking out the whole house. So while that is coming out from pressure, so that we can open the pot, we have stirred up our coconut milk ready to go inside the pot. So that when we open the pot, we're gonna add all our vegetables, our coconut milk, and everything should be ready to go. But guess what? Change of plan. Sorry, Daddy, love you to death. Started late today. We were on the radio last night with Trinidad, and so we are actually gonna cook the vegetables under pressure as well, and this soup is gonna be ready so fast it's not funny. Okay, so our pot has no pressure anymore. So we can open that lid quite happily, although I just put it back on the fire, so a little pressure built back up. I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm just gonna shove that valve down there. I need this pot open fast. Daddy's getting vexed, he's hungry. Right, so we can take that lid off now, and we can stir our cow heel there. Because we need to just make sure the cow heel is looking soft. Was it 20 minutes enough? How's that cow heel looking? It's soft?
I think that cow wheel could maybe take another 5 minutes. This might have been a
But we're
whole
going
cow.
back under pressure with the vegetables anyway, so that's perfect. So what we want to do now is we want to add our coconut milk and stir that into our pot. Right? So we're going to get that coconut milk going in there so the meat has a chance to absorb all that nice coconut flavor. And we're making a real rush soup here. So we're going to start adding our vegetables and so on as well. We are making a whole bunch of soup, so I don't know if you notice that there's a second pot in the background there. Once we mix this all up, we might even need to split it into 2 pots because when we make the cow heel soup, every man jack wants some. So we end up always making a huge pot. So we're getting those vegetables thrown in there. And like I said, we're probably going to go under pressure for a little 5-10 minutes or so. The cow heel needs to get a little softer, but we do want the vegetables to cook fast because Daddy ain't waiting until 6 o'clock tonight to eat that soup. He wants that soup now. Our oven is also preheated, so we're going to get our banana bread going in there in our oven. And once we get this lid on this pot, we're going to figure out how much water we can actually get in there.
That's about it, you know. We have to throw some peas now.
So put the water in now. I have the kettle here ready to go with that. So we chopped up a little too much vegetables for our pot, but that's fine because, you know, those ground provisions go in anything. We'll make a next soup tomorrow. We're waiting for the butcher to call us back. We have gone to every butcher in our local town and asked them to save the pig foot and the pigtail for us so we could make some sow soup. So we need to get our pressure cooker back going on, and again high pressure, and we're going to stick that on there for, I'm going to say, another 10 minutes because we need that to actually heat all the way up. Okay, so Alexa, could you set a timer for 10 minutes please? And there you go, we'll see you guys in 10. Alright guys, so we opened our pressure cooker and we transferred it to another pot. As you can see, the split piece came off the stove. The reason I transferred it to another pot is just because it's bigger than the pressure cooker. If your pressure cooker is big enough, then you know you may as well keep using that pot, less washing up and all, right? Who likes washing up? So what we're gonna do now is we've given that a good mix, and this is the point now where you just test for taste. Make sure you don't want to just add a little extra salt or seasonings or whatever. But we're gonna add the pot of split peas in now and give it a good stir. Right, so that pot of split peas is going inside of there. It's on the final leg where those split peas are going to burst in there. I think that's enough split peas. That's cool. And one last ingredient, and we're going to put that in the middle of the top of our pot. No West Indian soup goes without this in their pot. So we're going to add that hot pepper and leave our pot now just simmering for maybe half an hour. Those peas should split and it should absorb the flavor of the pepper. So that pepper is going in the pot. We change our heat, just put it down a little lower so that it then just simmers there for the 20 minutes. Meanwhile, our banana bread is going good there in the oven, and let's take a little look at it. Let's see if we take a sneak peek what's going on in there with our banana bread. There we go, rising nicely. Great. So half an hour's time, we'll have a nice soup to finish off. Let's take a little closer look in that pot. Our cow heel is looking amazing. Guys, so it's Soup Saturday. Doesn't matter where in the world you are. Trini's living abroad can always have Soup Saturday. We left out one last little ingredient for you, and that's of course your dumplings. Flour, water, a little bit of salt. We added some coconut flour to our flour as well. Those dumplings are going in there. They just need like 5 minutes. Soup's gonna be all done. So put your dumplings in, give your pot a good stir. Our pot is actually quite hot and our provisions are starting to melt down. So I actually think what we're gonna do is we're gonna give the pot a stir, and we're gonna take it off the fire and put the lid on and let those dumplings just cook themselves while the soup cools down so that we can just get right into it. Right, so hold up there. We're coming in for the taste test just now. That lid's going on there. Dumplings gonna finish off, and we'll see you in a few. Okay, so Soup Saturday. We got the football on, and 1.5 hours flat. Cow heel soup from your kitchen to your pot. How's that soup going?
My gosh, it's Oh, it make me feel like home, yeah.